Good morning everyone, especially to our instructor, Ma'am Magdael. Good morning, ma'am. Before we start this discussion, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Arjan Arminta, the first presenter of Module 6, which will focus on cultural performances and indigenous practices, fiestas, festivals, rites, and rituals. So there are different categories of art. We have the visual art itself. We have the performing art itself, just dancing, singing, drama, etc. But here in the Philippines, the most oldest art forms that we have is the sculpture. So the native Filipinos were already knowledgeable about some craftsmanship before the time of colonizations. So on traditional crafting, they used crafting materials such as sharp stone or wood to carve out their anitos or their higher deities which they used to worship. It's either be made of wood or made of stone. Now, who introduces visual art in the Philippines? Knowing the fact that Filipinos already have their native art forms, as already mentioned and discussed on our previously modules about the arrival of Spaniards on 16th century, this time we're also considered the artistic painting or Western painting were introduced to Filipino. Now, how do they introduce artistic painting? So, paano nila ginawa? Just like Christianity, Spanish friars also introduces artistic painting in a form of religious painting which as only limited during time on religious icon. So, it's a painting about Jesus Christ or Mama Mary. So here are some important personalities who contributed on art history. We have Gregorio Vasari, which considered the father of art history and the inventor of artistic biography and author of the Bible of the Italian Renaissance. We have Victorino Candido Edades, the father of modern Philippine arts, who led the revolutionary 13th moderns and engaged the classical compatriots on heated debate over the nature of the functions of art. He considered the national artist on 1976. Now, these are the most famous and influential artists in the history, which I know you are familiar with. We have Pablo Picasso, the founder of Cubism, and one of his greatest work during 20th century is The Girl Before the Mirror and The Old Guitarist. We also have Leonardo da Vinci. He is the renowned Florence painter during his time. One of his most famous painting is the portrait of Mona Lisa and the Last Supper. Now, from the Philippines, we have Fernando Cueto Amorsolo, or also known as the Grand Old Man. One of his style is craftsmanship, mass theory, landscape, and use of light. Fernando Amorsolo is known from the painting of landscape or different landscape from the Philippines. So he really loves painting yung mga tanawin, lalo-lalo sa mga bukid, yung mga nag-aani. I know you already encountered some of his painting. We also have Napoleon Abueva, also known as Billy, the father of the modern Philippine sculpture. One of his famous artwork that can be found in the faculty of UP is the Siyam na Diwata or the Nine Moses of Art 1991. The Manunggul jar were found along with other archaeological artifacts of jar, stone ornaments, seashells, most specifically the Tabonman, one of the earliest remains discovered, which is believed to be the first inhabitant of the island of the Philippines. The Manunggul jar has three main features: the two humanoid figure and the boat. Now, what does this represent? The two humanoid figure on the top of the Manunggul jar represents the soul on voyage toward the afterlife. Now, the figure at the back of the boat is which is believed to be the sundo or the guardian of the soul or some entity. The figure in the front of the boat is the soul, which hands crossed on its chest is believed to be the soul that were about to be departed. It's similar to the belief of Austronesians, where the soul of some people who died were separate from its body. This is also similar to the wood carving in Taiwan, most specifically in East Timor and Southeast Asia. The sculpture of Paete, Laguna. Now, you might be still wondering where this name came from or sinong nakaisip nung ipangalan yun dun sa lugar na yon. Now, here's the town story. There was a young Franciscan priest who were ordered by his superior to visit some of places of the town. The priests were maybe lack of the knowledge or the language that is being used around the place. He asked one of the locals. He said, "What is the name of this place?" Now, the locals doesn't understand what the young priest said, and he thought that the young Franciscan were asking what tool he is using. Then he replied, "Paete." That's where the name being used or called to that place. That might be the reason why Paete, Laguna is the wood carving capital of the Philippines on 2005. The Taka of Paete, Laguna. So how this idea started? So back then, Piday was in charge of arranging the church decorations and the cherubim. So before, they used pure heavy wood to create the figure or the cherubim. So the problem is, masyadong mabigat yung wood. So Piday think of the idea na to create the same image or sculpture but in lighter weight naman. So that's when they created the Taka. Taka is a combination of sculpture or paghuhubog gamit lang yung kahoy. So we are all familiar with this type of art because I know that you have been encountered this during your senior or elementary days on our art subject. San Nicolas cookie molding. So these practice and traditions were very popular in Mexico, Pampanga, most specifically in San Nicolas Tolentino. So this cookie undergoes rituals and church blessings because they consider this cookie sacred, miraculously, and traditional. So if you can see this, some cookies, makikita nyo na sa gitna niya ay may image ng kanilang patron or saint patron, which they believe na very miraculously at nakakagaling daw ng sakit. When you consume it, mas madali daw kayong gagaling. So, nakakalungkot lang kasi on the present day, hindi na siya ginagawa. Only few churches do this. If you wanna try or witness these types of rituals and blessings on San Nicolas cookies, you can visit the San Sebastian Church because this church are the only few churches who still practice this traditional cookie blessings. Singkaban Festival. So, the man who started this or ang nagpasimula ng Singkaban ay si Mang Kiko. So, Singkaban means kalinangan ng Bulacan. So, the Singkaban Festival is a manifestation of Filipino creations in transforming plain bamboo into some work of art, as it was abundantly known in the province of Bulacan, most specifically in Malolos, Bulacan. So during their festival, the Bulaqueños often shares their mastery on bamboo art in a form of basket, furniture, and home decorations, and many other things. So kapag fiesta, makikita nyo napakarami nilang dinidisplay sa labas ng kalsada or sa tindahan na different bamboo art forms. The Bulol of Ifugao. So kung mapapansin nyo sa mountain people of the North Luzon, most specifically yung mga nakatira sa malapit sa Banawe Rice Terraces, they have this Ifugao figurative sculptures that are usually seated or standing. It is made of ipil or nara. So, kung mapapansin nyo, nilalagay nila yun doon sa compartment where they stack their rice because they believe that on the next harvest, they can harvest more. The Ifugao also believes that this figure or the Bulol figure or sculpture is the house of their spirits of their ancestor. So, sa probinsya ng Luzon, napakarami nyo makikita na Bulol shop, but hindi lahat yun ay sacred. So, the Bulol undergoes rituals and yung pinakang basbas ng priest ng village for it become sacred. So, nag-aalay sila ng prutas, gulay, ng dugo ng manok or ng native pigs. Okir of Maranao. So, these traditional designs are divided into two. The curved linear or the male, Okir Datu, and predominantly rectilinear or the female. So this tradition's motif is an exclusive artistic cultural heritage of Maranaos, of Lanao del Sur. So the design symbols power and strength as well as the traditions of the Maranao. So the motif of their designs is usually sari manok, naga-okir ornaments, malong, etc. Sari manok. Sari manok, or also known as papanok in feminine form, were originated during the time of 19th century. So, noong mga panahon yon, the sari manok were made of copper or silver. So, sari manok or sari is a totem bird of Maranao people called Itotoro, a medium to the spirit world via its unseen twin spirit bird called Inakadowa. So, during their Sari Manok festival, they considered that festival celebrations of peace and unity amidst the two dominant cultures of Christian and Muslims. So, Sari Manok is a symbol of faith and abundance of its constituents and its 26 barangays. So, there were myths and legends about where the Sari Manoks came from. So, the first is ang kwento dito, so there was a sultan and he has a daughter, a very beautiful daughter, and when his daughter turned 18, they turned the celebrations, and during that time, a hen or a chicken flew in front of the daughter of the sultan, and just like that, it turned out to be a magical sari manok, and it became a handsome prince. So the prince said that he's been watching the sultan's daughter for a very long time, and he wanted to get the sultan's daughter. And just like that, the sari manok and the daughter are gone and flew into the moon. So because the sultan were very sad and worried about the loss of his daughter, he asked one of his skilled craftsmen to carve out the sari manok that took his daughter. The second myth and legend is about the Raha Indarapatra. So Raha Indarapatra is said to be in love to Maranao moon goddess. So to be able to be reunited with the goddess, he ride the sari manok to reach the place where the goddess were living. Torogan of Maranao. So Torogan is a sleeping quarters or a special place for a high-status Maranao. Most specifically for the village Raha. So, para lang siya sa matataas ang katungkulan na mga Maranao. So, these Torogan are designed around with okir. So, it's an elevated sleeping quarters or house above the ground with big columns cut. Three large trees of huge girth is usually covered with plywood, sticks, and nipa leaves. So, they are interior partitions. So, basically, it looks like a huge hall or town's hall. The Hagabi of Ifugao. So, basically, this Hagabi is just like a long chair created for a high-status Ifugao. So, did you guys know that this Hagabi chair will cost you a $460,000 or 22 million pesos? So, this is bought by someone in Leon Gallery Kingly Treasure Auctions. So, napakamahal niya. So, ibig sabihin, it's really valued in other country. So, that's why it is bought $1 million. Mas mahal pa siya sa Bulul, which only cost you $280,000. So, this bench serves as the symbol of prestigious Hagabi feast. So, yung mga high-rank Ifugao were seated on these Hagabi chairs before the Hagabi feast is started. Pabalat or borlas de pastillas. I know that you are guys aware what is pastillas means. It's a soft, milky candy. So, this borlas de pastillas is very different. Bakit? Kasi it's different on their designs or yung pabalat niya mismo. Now, who started this? Luz Ocampo, a 93-year-old, started this idea. So, these borlas de pastillas, you can only see this in San Miguel de euro. It's a homemade milk soft candy in homes of farmers tending cows. So, doon nag-start yung pastillas. So, the idea or the inspiration of these pastillas designs is the bahay kubo, Maria Clara, or some scenery or coconut tree, which they can see around the place. So, during fiesta, you might see this as a form of gift or in the center table ng mga handaan doon sa lugar nila. That's why it's very popular on the place. Thank you, and I'm giving that chance to speak to our next reporter, Miss Angel Ann Bakay.
The puni or palm leaf folding of Bulacan. Puni refers to the art of coconut leaf weaving. Puni is also a Tagalog term from the province of Bulacan, which means to beautify or decorate with the use of coconut leaf. Puni or palm leaf folding was intended to create artful toys for kids. However, puni can also be used to create woven baskets, bags, and even fans. The most common permutation of puni art is the palaspas that we can see every Holy Week. Because of the abundance of coconut leaves, the Pinoys have ingeniously created toys and other items through puni. Next is architecture. According to Santos 2016, the basic forms of architecture available in the Philippines before the Spanish came was governed by the building's functional uses as shelter and by the materials available. The builders has no formal training in the basic form of design, yet they are able to create something valid and functional, a style which exists to this day both Ifugao and Maranao architecture. Understanding the roots of Philippine architecture is an interesting adventure as we revisit the heritage and discover how the lives of Filipinos from different periods of our history were reflected through structures of houses, churches, mosques, temples, government buildings, cultural centers, and many others. Just by reviewing our history as a nation, the Philippines is a melting pot of various cultures, not just from its Western colonizers but even from its neighbors in Asia even before the Spaniards came. Our country's history produced a conglomeration of architectural design which still exists at present. The earliest records of pre-colonial architecture in the Philippines are rock shelters and caves in Palawan. Early Filipinos are nomadic since they are constantly in search for food through hunting or fishing, so they mainly rely on nature when creating shelter and do not build permanent structures. Next is pottery. Native Filipinos created pottery since 3,500 years ago. They used the pottery to hold remains of the deceased wherein it was decorated with anthropomorphic designs. Traditional pot making in certain areas of the Philippines would use clay found near the Sibalom River. Molding the clay required the use of wooden paddles and the clay had to be kept away from sunlight. Burial in pots took many forms. The Egyptians buried their dead in all types of ceramic vessels, and sometimes the body was simply placed underneath a pot in a grave. Though pot burials were popular especially for children, people also use coffins and even stone-lined pits to inter their loved ones. The practice of pot burial probably came to Egypt from the Levant region, where pot burials date back to at least 2,000 years before the first known examples in Egypt. Filipino pottery had other uses as well. During the Neolithic period of the Philippines, pottery was made for water vessels, plates, cups, and for many other uses. Another one is the archaeology. Diggings in many parts of the Philippines have yielded rich artifacts. The Calatagan excavations alone represent a milestone in the history of Philippine archaeology. In Mindoro, Bicol, Iloilo, Santa Ana, Manila, and in towns of Laguna have focused attention on Oriental ceramics and earthenware. Archaeology is the study of past cultures. Archaeologists are interested in how people of the past life work, traded with others, move across the landscape, and what they believe. Some archaeologists specialize in identifying plant and animal remains. Another one is the paintings. Artistic paintings were introduced to the Filipinos in the 16th century when the Spaniards arrived in the Philippines. During this time, the Spaniards used paintings as religious propaganda to spread Catholicism throughout the Philippines. These paintings, appearing mostly on church walls, featured religious figures appearing in Catholic teachings. These paintings, appearing mostly on church walls, featured religious figures appearing in Catholic teachings. Due to the church supervision of Filipino art and Spanish occupation of the Philippines, the purpose of most paintings from the 16th and 19th century was to aid the Catholic Church or the Art of the Philippines 2016. In the early 19th century, wealthier, educated Philippines introduced more secular Filipino art, causing art in the Philippines to deviate from religious motifs. The use of watercolor paintings increased and the subject matter of paintings began to include landscapes, Filipino inhabitants, Philippine fashion, and government officials. Portrait paintings featured the painters themselves, Filipino jewelry, and native furniture. Next one is the weaving. Weaving in the Philippines has different forms, functions, and materials. They also vary in design and techniques used. The common forms of weaving in the Philippines are in the form of hats, mats, bags, and baskets, and also in textiles. Weaving in the Philippines dates back to the 13th century. It makes use of local cotton, fibers, abaca, and pineapple as raw material. Today, there are about 450 weaving groups across Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, making up a population of roughly 5,000 and producing a total revenue of about 150 million. Apart from producing artisan fabrics, weaving reveals the history of a community and sparks conversation about native lands in Mindanao, weaving has been a refuge for some women in times of conflicts. Weavers can be classified as either traditional or non-traditional, which vary depending on area and region. Some weavers use synthetic cotton, fiber, or abaca. They also vary depending on the type of loom they use and the weaving technique that they use. The Malong of Maranao. The Malong is a traditional tube skirt made of hand-woven or machine-made multicolored cotton cloth bearing a variety of geometric or ochre designs. The Malong is similar to the sarong worn by peoples in Malaysia, Brunei, and Indonesia. The Maranao are one of the Muslim groups of Mindanao. Both men and women wear tubular garments called malong. This type of garment is used in a number of different ways, from skirt to gown to baby carrier and even sleeping blanket. Now, we are on the examples of the tribal costumes of Bilaan, Kalinga, Tibuli, and Bagobo. So the first one is the Bilaans. Bilaans are one of the indigenous peoples of southern Mindanao in the Philippines. They are famous for their brassworks and beadwork and tinalak weave. The people of these tribes wear colorful embroidered native costumes and beadwork accessories. Bilaan women employed a particularly wide repertoire of design formats for their abaca and skirts. They were also recognized throughout the region as the most accomplished embroiderers. A more elaborate example of Bilaan embroidery can be seen in men's shirt with crocodile motifs on shoulders and sleeves. Bilaan embroiders were so renowned for their skill that frequently the Bagobo obtained garments embroidered by their Bilaan weavers. Although many Bilaan garments are therefore recognizable on the basis of their quality and style of embroidery, exceptional examples of Bilaan textile artistry are also found with shawl sikin decoration or with kritik. The next one is the Kalinga costumes. They are called the peacocks of the north because of their attention to Kalinga appearance and dressing. Kalinga means enemy, a name that the bordering inhabitants called this tribe because of their head-hunting attacks. The name stuck and became accepted by the natives themselves. The typical Kalinga clothing for men is called bahag, while women usually wear the kain or a colorful garment that covers from the waist down, which is like the tapis from different parts of the Philippines. The next one is the Tibuli. The Tibuli distinguish themselves from other tribal groups by their colorful clothes, bracelets, and earrings. This tribe is famous for their complicated beadwork, wonderful woven fabrics, and beautiful brass or miniatures. Tibuli women dress in a long sleeve, tight-fitting waist-length, colorless blouse which is in plain black, dark, or navy blue. Their tubular skirt is ankle length. For special occasions, the Tibuli women is dressed in a pinstripe lining skirt, while Tibuli men no longer wear traditional attire. And the last one is the Bagobo. The Bagobo are proud people with Proto-Malayan features. They have Umaid traditions in weaponry and other metal arts. They are noted for their skill in producing brass articles throughout the ancient lost wax process. The entire community is represented by the black and cream colors, while for the numbers of family, they are only wear costumes with red and yellow. Two, they make intricate beadworks for their accessories such as earrings, anklets, necklaces, and bracelets.
Good morning everyone, I am Girly Bilina, Pagbuburda of Laguna and Batangas. Embroidery is the main industry of Lumban, Laguna. It is also known as the embroidery capital of the Philippines. Different methods of embroidery or decorative sewing arts were subsequently developed by Filipinos. Many of them continue to be practiced today, especially in Lumban, Laguna in Taal, Batangas. Although it's mostly done by women who are wives of farmers and fishermen, it is not uncommon to see fishermen and farmers who are also carefully and delicately embroidering floral designs during their off-season. Husi and pinya cloth are embroidered by hand and the finished products are worn by males, which is Barong Tagalog and Barot Saya for female. Burdang Lumban Festival. This festival is usually held on the third week of September. It is a way of celebrating the beautiful embroideries of Lumban. Pagbuburda in Taal, Batangas. This is the old native hand embroidery tradition in Taal, Batangas. It is also known for their pinya fabric. They are famous for the kalado and sinuksuk design. Kalado. Kalado is a kind of e-filigree work wherein the cloth thread is pulled from the cothane intricate pattern that goes with sample or ornate hand embroidery design. Sinuksok. Pinasuksok or sinuksok describes the technique of inserting colored thread by hand and the needle to create flower and leaf pattern. Dance. There are many different types of Filipino dances varying in influence and region. Types of Filipino dance include Cordillera, Muslim, tribal, rural, and Spanish-style dances. Within the Cordillera dances, there is Banga, Bendayan, Lumagen, Manmanok, Ragragsakan, Salidsid, Talip, Tarektek, and Uyaoy. Traditional folk dances of the Philippines. The Tinikling from Leyte and the Visayas region. The Tinikling comes from the central region of Leyte, in the Visayas, the central region of the Philippines, and emerged during the Spanish colonial period. The steps of this dance are derived from imitating the swift and graceful movement of the tickling bird as it evades the farmer's bamboo trap. The Sayaw sa Bangko from Pangasinan. Sayaw sa Bangko or Dance on the Bench is a folk dance from the Pangasinan province of the Philippines. Performer dance on the top of a bench that is normally 6 inches wide. The Binasuan from Pangasinan. Binasuan is a colorful and lively dance from Pangasinan, a province on the island of Luzon. It is often danced at weddings and fiestas. The word binasuan means with the use of drinking glasses and it refers to how the performer balance glasses on their heads and hands while gracefully dancing. The Pandango sa Ilaw in Mindoro. Pandango sa Ilaw is commonly like dance of grace and balance from Lumbang Island, Mindoro Occidental. The term Pandango is derived from the Spanish word fandango, a dance described by lively steps and clapping that changes in the rhythm in 3/4 time. The Maglalatik from Binan, Laguna. Maglalatik is dance to mimic the early battle against Christian and Moros to win coconut meat or latik during the time of Spanish colonization. This is also performed to pay homage to the town saint of Binian, Laguna, San Isidro, Labrador. The Kuratsa from Visayas region. The Kuratsa is the dance of courtship from Visayas region of the Philippines. At weddings and fiestas, the Kuratsa serves as traditional money dance where guests take turns pinning money on the bride and groom's attire. These symbolize friends and family's wishes for good luck and prosperity in the couple's future. Lahota Moncadeño from Ilocos. It was adapted from an old Spanish dance. It is a combination of Spanish and Ilocano dance set to Spanish music and castanets. The dance combines Spanish and Ilocano dance step and music. The Kapa Malong Malong from Mindanao. Kapa Malong Malong, also called Sambi sa Malong, is a dance that originates from the Maranao tribes of Mindanao in the Philippines. The dance shows the many ways of wearing a malong, a simple tubular yet highly functional piece of cloth. The Pantomina from Bicol region. Pantomina was originally a wedding dance from the towns of Bicol, Estandarte, and Sorsogon sub-regions. This dance is traditionally performed during wedding festivities by the couple and their visitors. The Habanera Botalena from Zambales. The Habanera is a folk dance that originated from Cuba. It is also known as danza or danza habanera. The habanera is a social dance in dample time and performed in a ballroom or on a stage. This dance first became popular in the town of Botolan, Zambales. The Surtido from Cebu and Samar. The Surtido Cebuano is a square dance said to have originated in Bantayan, Cebu. It is a cobbling together of Spanish, Mexican, and French influences along with indigenous elements. The Singkil from Maranao. The Singkil originated from the Maranao people who inhabit the shores of Lake Lanao. It is derived from a story in the Darangen, the Maranao interpretation of the ancient Indian epic, the Ramayana. The Polka Ball. Polka Ball is believed to be a combination of two old dances, the polka and the balse or waltz. Though balls exist on the name of the dance, polka ball does not have any waltz step in it. The polka ball dance is originated in the province of Atimonan, Quezon. The Pasigin from Capiz. Pasigin is a frolicking dance representing fishes getting out from torn fish nets, locally called sibut in Capiz. The Cariñosa from Panay. The Cariñosa is a Philippine folk dance of Hispanic origin. It is closely associated with the island of Panay and the Visayas region in general. The word Cariñosa is from the Spanish cariñosa, meaning the affectionate one. The Mazurka Boholana from Bohol. Mazurka Boholana is a Spanish-inspired ballroom dance from the Bohol province of the Philippines. The Philippine dance is ordinarily performed by men and women partners. Literature and theater. Philippine literature includes the legend of prehistory and the colonial legacy of the Philippines. Pre-Hispanic Philippine literature were actually epic passed on from generation to generation, originally through oral tradition. However, wealthy families, especially in Mindanao, were able to keep transcribed copies of this epic as family heirloom. One such epic was the Rangin Epic of Maranaos of Lake Lanao. poetry and metrical romances which include Tanaga, Ladino poems, and corridos. Tanaga. It is a short poem consisting of 4 lines with each syllables and each that rhyme at the end of each line. Ladino poems were natives of First Tagalog versifiers who saw print, highly literate in both Spanish and the vernacular. Corridos were widely read during the Spanish period that filled the populace's need for entertainment as well as edifying reading matter in their leisure moment. Awit. Like corridos, these were also widely read during the Spanish period as entertaining, edifying, reading manner in their leisure time. It is also a fabrication of the writer's imagination, although the characters and the setting may be European. The structure is rendered due decasyllabic quatrains. Dramas. Dramas includes moriones, panunuluyan, and pangaluluwa. Moriones refers the helmets of participants dressed as Roman soldiers, their identities hidden behind colorful, sometimes grotesque wooden masks. It is found only in the island of Marinduque. It is done during Holy Week, culminating in a passion play that adds the scene of Saint Longinus' conversion and martyrdom. Panunuluyan. It is a Tagalog version of the Mexican Las Posadas and literally means seeking passage. It is held during Christmas time, but especially in Christmas because it depicts Joseph and Mary's search for a room at the inn in Bethlehem. Actors playing the holy couple chant their pleas for lodging in slow, mournful tones, while the innkeepers and the householders would drive them away with hangy verses sung in dance-like meter. Pangaluluwa. It is a practice formerly widespread during All Saints' Day, which literally means for the souls. It is an analogous to the English custom of souling. And our next reporter, Miss Hannah Lorraine Albanyal.
Good day everyone, I am Hannah Lorraine C. Albanyal and I am from Group 1, and for today, I am going to discuss about Salubong. Salubong is a ritual performed in the early morning of Easter Sunday, a few hours after the Easter Vigil or the liturgy held in Catholic churches as the first celebration of the resurrection of Jesus, and before the Easter Mass, dramatizing the meeting between the resurrected Jesus and his mother. In its basic form, the rite begins with 2 separate processions. First, one consists of males accompanying the statue of the risen Christ, while on the other hand is women with the statue of the Virgin Mary veiled in black. As we can observe or as we can see on the photo, Virgin Mary is covered with black veil because she was mourning because her son, Jesus Christ, died in the cross of Calvary. Both processions meet at the churchyard, town plaza, or some other suitable area. Since this procession is composed or many people are joining this procession, it should be done, or the meet-up of 2 statues should happen in a large open area. And then, a girl dressed as angel stands from a scaffold or descends on a rope and sings the Regina Caeli. The angel then removes the black veil to the sound of killing bells and firecrackers, ending the penance and mourning of Lent. If we can still remember this certain Bible story, wherein after Jesus Christ was crucified, his dead body was placed in a tomb covered with a giant stone, and then after 3 days, there are women who wanted to visit the body of Jesus Christ, but then something happened and an angel came. And then the angel told the woman that that Jesus Christ, who died on the cross of Calvary, was no longer inside the tomb and has risen again. So, in the salubong, the angel who removed the black veil of Virgin Mary stands for also the angel that informed the people that they don't have to mourn or to stop the mourning of everyone, since Jesus Christ has risen again, that Jesus Christ is alive again. That's why also there are firecrackers symbolizing their celebration for them that Jesus is alive again.
Here are some short clips of Salubong 2018 in Ampalit, Pampanga. So that is how salubong happens. We observe how that girl or how that child who portrays as the angel removed the black veil of Virgin Mary while singing Regina Caeli. Regina Caeli is a Latin for Queen of Heaven. It is also the tribute to the Blessed Mother and an exclamation of joy to the resurrection of Christ. We can also observe how it took place in the churchyard and how people celebrates it with the lighting of firecrackers, applauses, and playing of victory songs. And that's it for Salubong. Thank you po.
Parada ng Lechon. Parada ng Lechon is a religious and cultural festival in honor of Saint John the Baptist in Balayan, Batangas, Philippines, held every June 24. Numerous activities are performed such as water dosing, street dancing, and the highlight of the occasion is the parade of roast pork presented in platforms and dressed in all kinds of costumes and decorations. Lechon is one of Batangas delicacies and is the main dish most Batangueños serve for celebrations and fiestas, and hence it became its symbol. The world-famous Parada ng Lechon is originated in old Thanksgiving custom of working class in what is used to be poor and depressed area in Canluran, the western poblacion of Balayan, Batangas. During the Spanish and American regimes, families who were fortunate enough to receive some significant blessings during the past year would parade a lechon in Town Plaza every June 24, the feast day of Saint John the Baptist. To the poor people of Balayan, the parading of lechon in Plaza, where the Roman Catholic Church is at the center, is the best show of thanksgiving and veneration to their patron saint. As years passed, as more and more poor people from Canluran district received blessings or became successful, more and more lechons were paraded every June 24. In 1959, the elders of Canluran district organized the Hermandad San Juan Bautista, or Brotherhood of Saint John the Baptist, to oversee the celebration of what has come to be known as the Parada ng Lechon in Balayan, Batangas. Madpak Festival, one of the Philippines' most symbolic festivals. It is an art and advocacy festival coinciding with the feast of Saint John the Baptist. It promotes the preservation of the Philippines environment. The theme of Madpak Festival is the harmony of man and nature. The festival is held every 24th day of June at Mambucal Resort in Murcia, Negros Occidental as part of National Environmental Month in the Philippines and of Negros Occidental Provincial Environmental Week. The festival takes place over 3 days and includes tribal dancing, clay body painting, drumbeat competitions, and so on. The origin of Madpak Festival started way back in 1986 right after the EDSA People's Power Revolution in Manila, which overthrew the late President Ferdinand Marcos. A group of theater artists named Kabataang Boldabilista ng Negros, or young vaudevilles of Negros, spent their summer vacation in Mambukal. The group found out the multicolored volcanic clay in the resort being made into toys by the resident children. Soon, the group made artistic miniature decorative jars out of the mud clay, which were bought by the visitors of the resort. The four artists also found out one evening in their drunken banters that the clay is also good as facial and body mask, especially when you fall out on the ground with face first, thus involved the title Mudpack Festival. Pintados Kasadyaan Festival. The Pintados Kasadyaan is a merged celebration of two prominent festivals, the Pintados Festival and the Kasadyaan Festival in Tacloban, Leyte, held on June 29 every year to honor the Señor Santo Niño de Leyte. The term Pintados refers to the region's ancient brave warriors, while Kasadyaan means happiness in local dialect. The Pintados Kasadyaan Festival is a cultural religious celebration in Tacloban, Leyte, based on body painting traditions of the ancient tattooed Pintados warriors. It is also referred to as the Festival of Festivals. The wave of this festival runs through the whole Philippines, and the glory can be seen through the various dance performances, acts, and exercises. In the introductions, the locals narrate their past stories and legends of brave warriors through various move numbers and melodious performances, while dancers paint their bodies in an attractive pattern to resemble an armor-clad warrior. When the Spaniards arrived on the island in 1668, they found men and women with bodies heavily painted or tattooed. Initially, they were intimidated and considered as illiterate, but they soon realized that it was their culture. The locals had distinct customs of their own, and the Spaniards named them Pintados. The local people followed their tradition of commemorating victories by merrymaking and thanking their gods for a good harvest. In 1986, a group of entrepreneurs and businessmen from Tacloban City founded the Pintados Foundation. Together with the locals, they began incorporating the cultural activities with Catholicism, reconceptualizing the festivity to honor the Señor Santo Niño or Child Jesus. The significance of the tattoo. In that era, making tattoos on the body was considered a mark of beauty and courage. Tattoo making in the past was not as meticulous as it is today. In the absence of advanced tools that we have now, the process was rather painful and took a long time. Thus, a man who successfully had tattoos done on his body was considered both brave and strong. The tattoos or pintados serve as the status symbol of the locals, with the bravest of the warriors heavily tattooed from head to feet. Furthermore, tattoos symbolize a cultural revival and a wild, wacky fiesta. Tinalak Festival. Tinalak Festival is art and cultural festival of the Tibulis. Tibuli is the tribe in the region. The festival is held every July 13 to 18 in Coronadal City, South Cotabato, in Mindanao. The start of the festival is marked by the Grand Parade. Locals come out onto street wearing colorful costumes, which showcase the culture of the indigenous people and tribes from the South Cotabato province. Other highlights of the festival include the diverse sporting activities as well as the street dancing competitions. Tinalak Festival is a showcase of traditional hand-woven cloth made of abaca fibers, which has three primary colors: red, black, and the original color of the abaca leaves. The colorants are natural dyes from plant barks, roots, and leaves. It is woven in order to celebrate and pay tribute to the major life events such as birth, life, marriage, or death within the community. The intricate and creative patterns of tinalak must have been dreamt of before the design are executed. For this reason, the Tibulis are called dream weavers. The dream weavers don't follow self-invented patterns. Instead, they believe that the designs of tinalak they create are brought to them in their dreams by Fudalu, the spirit of the abaca. Then they bring these patterns to life by weaving solely from mental images and memory. Tinalak is the ultimate emblem that represents the province. The late Lang Dulay was honored as National Living Treasure for being one of the best weavers in their town. Sandugo Festival. Sandugo Festival is a historical and cultural celebration commemorating the Treaty of Friendship between Dato Si Catuna, a chieftain in Bohol, and Spanish conquistador Miguel Lopez de Legazpi. Sandugo, or Blood Compact, is celebrated every last week of July in Tagbilaran City, Bohol. The activities during the celebration is Miss Bohol Sandugo Beauty Pageant, and the highlight of the festival is street dancing competition that passes through the city's major streets and culminates with the reenactment of historical blood compact. Sandugo literally means one blood. To formalize the forged bond between the two leaders, they had undertaken the sharing of wines sprinkled with their own blood from their left arms, thus strengthening the pact that promote friendship and brotherhood for both nationalities. Signing the treaty was done at the southwest coast of Bohol during the fateful day in 1565. Kinabayo Festival. Kinabayo Festival is a religious, cultural, and sports festival held in honor of Patron Saint James Apostle or Señor Santiago, held every 25th day of July in Dapitan City. The festival is an exotic and colorful pageant reenacting the Spanish-Moorish Wars, particularly the Battle of Covadonga, where the Spanish forces under General Pelagio took their last stand against Sarakan. They were able to reverse the tide through miraculous aspiration of St. James. Festival participants are divided into two groups, clothed as either Christian or Moorish soldiers, riding in mock horses made of rattan and bamboo, hence the term kinabayo. The climax of the pageant is the appearance of St. James mounted on white horse, slashing at his imaginary enemies with a sword to the delight and adoring chants and devotees of the warrior saint. Ibalong Festival. Ibalong Festival is non-religious cultural festival based on Ibalong epic. The Ibalong, also known as Handyong, a Bicolan full-length folk epic of Bicol region of Philippines, based on the Indian Hindu epics Ramayana and Mahabharata. The celebration held every second week of August in Legazpi City, Alba. The festival recreates the epic story Ibalong, who was accompanied by three legendary heroes, namely Baltog, Handyong, and Bantong. The three heroes rid the town of monsters, saved the people from great flood, and allayed the blows of the land. Participants of the parade in the streets wearing masks and costume, imitating the appearance of the heroes and the villains, portraying the classic battles that made their way into the history of Bicol. The Ibalong Festival aims to express warmth and goodwill to all people, visitors and tourists, to encourage to celebrate with the Bicolanos. Sirong Festival. Sirong Festival is an ethnic Mardi Gras competition parade started in 2004, held every 14th of August in Cantilan, Surigao del Sur. Sirong, known to be a war dance between Muslim and Christians, reflecting Christianization of the early Cantilangans. The Bonobos and the Manawas were known to be early Cantilangnans. Residents of the Surigao preserves their cultural tradition with rich native celebration as a way of remembering that colorful part of Cantilan's history, featuring a neo-ethnic Mardi Gras parade and street dancing culminating into war dance, and where marauders are depicted to have been driven out by virtue of intercession of Catholic Church Blessed Mother. The annual town fiesta honors the Immaculate Conception of Virgin Mary. Why? Historically, a coastal village constructed around the fort meant to defend from Moro raiders in the late 17th. In the coastal village, Mary appears every time Moro raiders would attack Cantilan. The story depicting an image of woman, believers later claimed that it was Virgin Mary, who appeared in the shores of the town who helped in driving out the raiders. The local inhabitants fought the raiders through sirong or eskrima, which their tradition describes as fighting with bladed weapons or swords that became the hallmark of the presentation by the participant as well as the theme of apparition and the Blessed Virgin Mary. Kajawan Festival. Kajawan is a cultural, flower, harvest, and Thanksgiving festival to celebrate the harvest of Davao's fruits, flowers, and farm produce. It is commemorated in Davao City every third week of August. Kadyawan comes from the Mandaya word, Mandayaw, a warm and friendly greeting used to describe something good, beautiful, valuable, superior, and profitable. Hence, the Kadyawan Festival in Tagalog means pasasalamat at pagpapahalaga. Kadyawan is a celebration of life, a thanksgiving for nature's gifts, and wealth of culture and bounties of harvest and serenity. The highlights of the festival are the Indak sa Kadalanan street dancing on Saturday and the floral parade on Saturday. The street dancing showcased the colorful costumes, traditions, and the stories of the different tribes in Davao. The floral parade features the colorful, orchid-bedecked floats, and more than dozen ethnic groups dancing to the beat of wooden drums. History of Kadayawan Festival. In the year of 1970, Davao City Mayor Elias B. Lopez had encouraged all Davao tribes to showcase their annual Thanksgiving rituals. After that, in the year 1986, the festival was originally called Apo Duwaling, named after three natural wonders and famous icons you can find in the Davao region. Mount Apo, the durian, which the fruit that smells like hell but tastes like heaven, and the famous Waling-Waling or Vanda Sandariana, a flower of the orchid family. Apo Duwaling was meant to showcase the city as peaceful destination to visit and to do business after 1986 EDSA Revolution. It was officially renamed the Kadayawan Festival in 1988 by the former Mayor Rodrigo Duterte. Higalaay Festival. Higalaay comes from the Cebuano word higala, meaning friend, chum, pal, hence a friendship festival. Cagayanons are well known to be warm and friendly towards their people and kin. Thus, Higalaay is similar to party, where everyone is invited. Higalaay Festival is cultural and religious event celebrating the feast day of Saint Agustin of Hippo, held every August 28 in Cagayan de Oro. Before, it was popularly known as Cagayan Festival, but now it is called Higalaay Festival. History of Higalaay Festival. During the Spanish colonization, the first Christian church in Cagayan de Oro City, August 28, 1780, under the leadership of Father Pedro de Santa Barbara. Since then, Cagayanons are celebrating 28th day of month of August to be the feast day of the city. Tuna Festival. Tuna Festival is cultural and harvest celebration of the city's main produce, the tuna fish. The annual celebration is every September 3 to 5 in General Santos City, since Jansan is the tuna capital of the Philippines. Yellow tuna fish is abound in the waters that surround the city, effectively making the city as one of the leading producers. The week-long celebration features different events and activities focusing on the tuna industry and the bounty of the sea. Among these are the annual Tuna Congress, the Tuna Culinary Skills Competition, the Sashimi Night, the Fish Dance Competition, Miss Tourism Jansan Pageant, the Fish Fest in Fishport, and the Tuna Float Light Parade. The Tuna Festival began to the fish abundance in the city back in 1988. The General Santos Tourism Association, a constitution of hotels, resorts, restaurants, and travel agencies, and other tourism-related establishments, then, chaired by Mrs. Liwanag Ferrer, staged an event at the Halios Mall that showcased tuna cuisine through culinary competitions, exhibits, and other activities dubbed as Tuna Revolution. Then Mayor Adelbert Antonio thought that a team could be actually the basis of festival. Thus, Tuna Festival was born.
Everyone, I'm Catherine Castroverde. So, I'm the one of the reporter. So, I'll discuss about festival. First is Dugoy Festival. The Dugoy Festival, were held every January 18, is an annual festival in the municipality of Sablayan Occidental, Mindoro. Dugoy Festival is a celebration of the natural endowment of the rich forested, mountain, and biodiversity such as endemic tree species, birds, and the endangered tamaraw, lakes, falls, rivers, and caves, and the productive coral reef and agricultural lands. This festival features the Mangyan tribe and its rich cultural heritage that is to be admired by many people who visit the place during festivities. Dugoy Festival, just like any other festival, celebrates with a number of performances such as street dances, exhibits, cultural show, and the other forms of merriment. This festival is a great avenue for the town people to showcase their talents through performing. The festival is also a platform so that the people in Sablayan can let the people know of the different ethno-cultural groups present in the festivity. The rivalry, although it is about the harmonious relationship of cultural groups, also instill a modern nature which add life to the celebration. The music used in the festival is usually done through using indigenous musical instrument. But it also make use of modern song. The costume that the participants use are also made more colorful so as to relate to the celebration. The main goal of this Dugoy Festival is to uplift the camaraderie of Sablayeños through promoting their culture in their very own festival. Also, they want to celebrate the Dugoy spirit that remains to be rich and full of hope, hence the success of their annual festival. This festival is also a great way to boost their tourism. Aside from relying on their natural tourist destination, the highlights of the festivity is the street dancing, where as many as 20 groups with 1,000 members participate. The street dancing showcases the different ethno-cultural groups of Mangyan as well as those that came from different parts of the Philippines and eventually settled in Sablayan. Ati-Atihan Festival is a Philippine festival held annually in January in honor of Santo Niño in several towns of the province of Aklan, Panay Island. The biggest celebration is held during the third Sunday of January in the town of Calibo, the province capital. The word Ati-Atihan comes from Aita, the local name for the Aborigines who first settled in Panay Island. They were short and had distinctively black skin and curly hair. The festivity was originally a pagan celebration to commemorate the martyrs of the Panay, where the Aita accepted gift from Bernanes, chieftain called Datu, who fled with their families to escape tyrannical ruler in exchange for being allowed to dwell in the Aita's land. They celebrated with dancing and music, with the Bernanes having painted their bodies with salt to show their gratefulness and camaraderie. With the Aita who had dark skin, the celebration features religious processions, public parades with themed clothes, colorful costume, dancing group, marching bands, and people donning face and body paints. The street parade is known as sadsad, which is also how the local refers to them, style of dancing which involves dragging one's foot across the good in time with the marching bands beat. The festival is a prayer ritual dance in honor of the miraculous image of the Santo Niño. The name pertains to the strong current movement of the Cebu River, which is reenacted in the dance. Sinulog Festival is religious and cultural festival and a dance ritual. An image of the child Jesus said to be the baptismal gift of Ferdinand Magellan to Jara. The word sinulog comes from the Cebuano adverb is sulog, which roughly means like water current movement. It describes the forward-backward movement of the sinulog dance. The dances consist of 2 steps forward and 1 step backward, done to the sound of drum. The dance is categorized into sinulog bass, free interpretation, and street dancing. Candle vendors at the Basilica continue to perform the traditional version of the dance when lighting a candle for the customer, usually accompanied by song in the native language. Sinulog was already danced by the natives in honor of their wooden idols and anitos. Even before Portuguese navigator Ferdinand Magellan came to Cebu on April 7, 1521, to plant the cross on its shore and claim the country for the King of Spain. Then Magellan came and introduced Christianity. He gave the image of Santo Niño as a baptismal gift to Jara Amihan, who was later named Queen Juana, wife of Cebu's Raha Humabon. At the time, more than 800 were baptized, including the ruler and their subjects. But shortly after a religious conversation, Magellan was killed in a reckless fight with the reigning ruler of Mactan, Lapu-Lapu, on April 27, 1521. For the 44 years between the coming of Magellan and Legazpi, the natives continued to dance the sinulog. Every Santo Niño Fiesta, which falls on the third Sunday of January, children dressed into moro-moro costumes dance the sinulog. This was not really a big event for Cebu City then. International Bamboo Organ Festival. International Bamboo Organ Festival is a week-long series of cultural celebration that highlights the world's spectacular instrument. Bamboo organ, invented by Fray Diego de la Cerra in 1824. The festival is celebrated during the month of February in Las Piñas City. Cultural and music festival that showcases the bamboo organ installed at St. Joseph Parish Church. Ever since the bamboo organ's rigorous restoration, the people celebrate this work of art. The first one recorded on the occasion of the inaugural concert of the bamboo organ in 1975 with Wolfgang Ohms on the organ. The second was recorded a few months later and released with the title Christmas Carols on the Las Piñas bamboo organ, with Senyas Reyes Lozada as accompanist. Panagbenga Festival comes from the local kankana term in Cordillera, meaning season or time for blossoming. Panagbenga Festival is celebrated every February. It's a modern flower festival. It is a month-long celebration. During the business line, a month to attract tourists to the city of Baguio after the holiday and before. The peak summer season as a tradition with the most Filipino festival, a grand parade marks the beginning of Panagbenga Festival. They are covered with beautiful flowers creating a distinct parade. Unlike others that are held in the country, to say that colors come alive during the long festival is to put mildly. Land is from the Binukid word amol, which means together. It is gathering of Bukidnon tribes people for a purpose. It can mean a datuship ritual, a wedding ceremony, a Thanksgiving festival during harvest time, a peace pact, or all of this put together, showcasing the unique indigenous culture of Bukidnon. The Kaamulan is held annually in the province, particularly in Malaybalay City, the provincial capital, from the second half of February to March 10, which latter date marks the anniversary of the creation of Bukidnon as a province in 1917. As an ethnic festival, the Kaamulan celebrates the costume and traditions of 7 tribal groups that originally inhabited the Bukidnon region, namely the Bukidnon. First is Higaonon, second is Talaandig, third Manubo, fourth Matigsalug, fifth Tigwahanon, and sixth Umayanon. Several tribal folks representing the Seven Hills tribe of Bukidnon gather in unity with the local dweller in town, wearing their intricately woven costume studded with trinkets, anklets, earrings, necklaces, leglets, headdresses, and amulets. Their dance together chant, perform an ancient ritual, and compete in indigenous sport.
Strawberry Festival were held every March 14 in La Trinidad, Benguet. The Strawberry Festival is a cultural and harvest town's prime's produce. Strawberry festivals have been a part of spring and summer celebrations, marking the transition from the cold and rainy winter time to time of renewal, life, and color. Strawberries are the first crop ready for harvest in most temperate regions. When they are ready to be picked, it is a signal that scarcity is about to give away the abundance and its cause to celebrate. There are scores of strawberries festival, and most have long, storied histories of community involvement, integration of all people in the enjoyment, and fun activities for all ages.
Pintados de Pasig Festival. Every March, many Ilonggos and guests gathered at Pasig City in order to watch the famous Pintados de Pasig Festival. Began 14 years ago, the celebration has gone from strength to strength. Over the years, many of the people who gathered to view the event up close and personal are not just local, but have journeyed from every corner of the region in order to see it. The origins of Pintados de Pasig date back to 1999, when the celebration opened its doors for the first time. The tribal dance competition, Karosa Parada, and Carabao painting contest, and the Binibining Pintados were the original core of activities. Known to be an ancient and spiritually respect art form, tattooing existed in many different culture all over the world. It is integral part of their culture, while the other countries consider tattooing as a newly adopted art. Philippine history would tell us that in some parts of the country, specifically in the Visayas, the art of tattooing has been in fashion for thousands of years. Early account of Visayan tattooing date back from 1590 and 1608 by Spanish explorers. It became for clothing certain design, recognize manhood and personal accomplishments of well as attractiveness, fertility, and continuity of the family or village. The Dinamulag Festival or Sambales Festival is a harvest festival celebrate in the bountiful harvest of mangoes in the province. Mangoes cultivated in Sambales are particularly the Dinamulag variety of caravan of mangoes were cited as the world sweetest mangoes by Guinness World Records in 1995. His country sweetest mango by the Department of Agriculture in 2013. In 2015, other events unrelated to the province mangoes, such as sport events, were introduced while the province fruit remained the centerpiece of the festival. It's all date back to 1993 when then Governor Emily Lopez was looking for an event to mark the first birthday of Guimaras. Designation as an independent province. The Independence Province Day, May 22, coincidence with the peak season for mangoes. Kutod crucifixion in the Philippines is a devotional practice held every Good Friday and is a part of the local observance of Holy Week. Devotees or penitents called Magdarame in Kapampangan are willingly crucified in imitation of Jesus Christ's suffering and death. While related practice include carrying wooden crosses, crawling on rough pavement, and self-flagellation, penitents consider this act to be mortification of the flesh and the undertake this to ask forgiveness for sins. To fulfill a panata in Filipino or to express gratitude for favors granted in the most famous case. Like Ruben Inahe, dried 4-inch nails into both hands and feet. Then he is lifted on a wood cross for around 5 minutes. Crucifixion is a method of capital punishment in which the victim is tied or nailed to a large wooden beam and left to hang until eventual death from exhaustion and asphyxiation. The crucifixion is important for Christians who believe that God sacrificed Jesus, his only Son, to atone for the sins of humanity. Once the clock strikes 3 p.m., people observe this moment in silence and solemnity. Good Friday is a time when people take part in a form of penance to repent from their sins. Some Filipinos spend time at the beach during the holiday. Moriones Festival. The Moriones Festival is a Lenten festival held annually of Holy Week on the island of Marinduque. The Morions are men and women in costumes and masks, replicating the garb of biblical imperial of Royal Roman soldiers as interpreted by locals. The Marians tradition has inspired the creation of other festivals in the Philippines where cultural practices is turned into street festival. It is a colorful festival celebrated on the island of Marinduque in the Philippines. The participants use Morion masks to depict the Roman soldiers and Syrians mercenaries within the story of the Passion of the Christ. The mask was named after the 16th and 17th century Morion helmet. The Moriones refers to the mask and costume penitents who march around the town for 7 days searching for the Longinus. Morions roam the street in town from Holy Monday to Easter Sunday, scaring the kids or engaging in antics or surprise to draw attention. This is a folk religious festival that reenact the story of Saint Longinus, a Roman centurion who was blind in one eye. The festival is characterized by colorful Roman costume, painted mask and helmet, and brightly colored tunics. The town of Bagasan, Santa Cruz, Buenavista, and the Mogbog in the island of Marinduque become one gigantic stage. The observance From part of the Lenten celebration of Marinduque, the various towns also hold the unique tradition of the pabasa or the recitation of Christ's Passion in verse. Then at 3 o'clock on Good Friday afternoon, the Santo Sepulcro is observed, whereby old women exchange verse based on the Bible as they stand in the wake of the dead Christ. One of the highlights of the festival is the Via Crucis, a reenactment of the suffering Christ of his way to the Calvary. Men inflict suffering upon themselves by whipping their backs, carrying a wooden cross, and sometimes even crucifixion. They see this act of their form of atonement for their sins. This week-long celebration starts on Holy Monday and ends of Easter Sunday.
Hello everyone, I am Rose Ancasaw, last reporter of the Rest Festival. Bunok-bunok Maradyaw Karadyaw Festival. Bunok-bunok means rain, and Maradyaw Karadyaw means a very good. It is a colorful festival displaying the Surigano's tribal culture through road moving. It's a multi-day long celebration denoting the Surigao City yearly festivity, which is celebrated in 9th of September. Held out of appreciation for the city's benefactor, San Nicolas de Tolentino. This prominent Mardi Gras festivity highlights road parties and customary ethnic move ceremonies. The long day celebrations occur in the region around the provincial sports complex, which is an extraordinary place to see the wide range of artists perform. This profoundly conventional occasion is a method for approaching the divine beings for good well-being and abundant harvests. Bunok-bunok dance trace its origin from Mamanuas, the natives of Surigao. During ancient times and until now, the dance steps are performed by this tribal group during their wedding ceremonies, Thanksgiving, worship, and celebrations. Musical instruments used from made of bamboo, katik, kalatong as gongs, and gimbar for drum. One of the main attractions of the dance is the colorful arrangement used, which includes the tubaw or the beaded headdress, bracelets, and anklets. The ceremonial dress for men and women is ornate in design with various colors. Peña Francia Festival, celebrated on the third Saturday of September in Naga City, Bicol. The fest day is preceded by a novena, 9 days of prayer in honor of the Virgin. On the first day, the image of the Virgin, a copy of Madonna in Peña Francia, Spain, is brought from each shrine to the Naga Cathedral, where novena is held. On the last day, the image is returned to her shrine following the Naga River route. The colorful evening procession is lit by thousands of candles from devotees in boats escorting the image. When the barge reaches its destination, the devotees shout, "Viva la Virgin!" or "Long live the Virgin!" and the image is brought back in a procession to the cathedral. According to locals, a Spanish government official from Peña Francia, Spain, settled with his family in Cavite in 1712. One day, his daughter fell sick and the family prayed for her recovery to the famous Madonna Peña Francia, a picture of whom was in their possession. The day passed and his daughter was recovered. The famous Madonna is believed to have miraculous powers. On her fest day, pilgrims gather at her shrine to pay her homage for favors received. Mascara Festival. The Mascara Festival of Bacolod City is one of the biggest festivals in the Philippines. Believe it or not, the festival has been giving a local and international visitors the chance to have fun, drink, and party on the streets of Bacolod for over 30 years now. This annual festival, which is similar to Brazil Rio Carnival, literally translates to many pays, and it is celebrated every October in Bacolod. Because of the smiling face of the mask, Bacolod City got a nickname of the City of Smiles. The Mascara Festival can trace its roots back in the 1980s, and it was born out of a crisis. It was during the time when the province main livelihood, sugar, was priced at an all-time low because of the alternatives introduced in the market. It was also the time when a tragic ferry accident happened, which carried mostly people from the province, including those from prominent families of Bacolod. To lift the spirits of the locals and bring back the smile on their face, the Mascara Festival was created. The smiling masks were a declaration of the people of Bacolod City that they will pull through and survive the challenge and tragedies that they are facing. The music used for the celebration has enjoyed a colorful evolution just like the festival. From the folk songs, the festival now uses a combination of Latin remix as well as Philippine jazz to grace the street dance. Hermosa Festival or Fiesta Pilar is held in honor of Nuestra Señora del Pilar Zaragoza, the patron of the Zamboanga Peninsula. The whole month festivities in October. The highlights would include a 9-day novena, fashion shows, dance, song competitions, trade fairs, a pageant, and the famous regatta, which is a race of colorful bintas. The Zamboanga Hermosa Festival is one of the biggest and most awaited festivals in the city and the region. This showcases the beauty of Zamboanga City, its rich and diverse culture and heritage. It is a indeed and a spectacle worth witnessing. Lanzones Festival, one of the most celebrated festivals in Camiguin, which commemorates the annual harvesting of lanzones in this island of province of the Philippines. It celebrates every 25 to 28 day of October. The lanzones fruit is popular and favorite among Filipinos, who can get enough of its sweet and tangy flavor. Camiguin is abundant with lanzones, making it among the top producer of the fruit in the entire country, alongside Batangas, Quezon, Davao del Norte, and Zamboanga del Norte, among a few. However, Camiguin is famous for producing lanzones that are sweeter in taste as compared to the rest. One of the highlights of the Lanzones Festival is the street dancing competition, which dancers dress in a colorful costume inspired of course by the sweet lanzones of the island. You will enjoy seeing the lanzones eating contest. The parade features not only the street dancer costumes, also the offered for guests, the come as you are, and eat all you can passion. Pinta Flores Festival. It is celebrated every 3rd to 5th of November in San Carlos City, a religious and cultural celebration in honor of San Carlos Borromeo, the patron saint of the city. In 1992, Pinta Flores was born out of the city's search for a cultural identity and tradition. Pinta Flores derived from the word pintados or painted ones, and flores from the Spanish word for flowers, which are combined concept from their two previous festivals, the Nabingkalan Tattoo. The highlight of this festival are the street dancing and ritual competition, with the colorful costumes, painted body of the dancer, and a glamorous dance step given by their choreographer, with musical accompaniment add to the thrill of competition. Fiestas and Festival. Festival, or commonly known as a fiesta, is a part of the Filipino culture. Each city or province has a local fiesta or festival, our way of giving thanks to the patron saint for the abundant blessing. There are more than 42,000 known major and minor festivals in the Philippines that has different content, reason, and decorate. These lesser-known fiestas and festivals are observed and celebrated, nonetheless with or without media mileage. Neither are they lesser in terms of religious or cultural significance compared to the more famous fiestas and festivals. Gigantes Festival. One of these big fiestas is located in the city of Aguno, Rizal. Gigantes Festival that is held annually on the 22 and 23 day of November. to express their gratitude for their patron Saint San Clemente. Gigantes Festival is considered as one of the unique festival in the Philippines. It's said that this kind of celebration is primarily done as a form of agrarian protest, where they created Papirmachi giants to mock the Spanish hacienda's owner. Based on Naguno folklore, the Gigante was used as symbol of agrarian protest during the waning years of Spanish colonization, when Aguno was a hacienda, a large tract of land. The Gigantes measured for 25 feet in diameter and 10 to 12 feet in height. The three old Gigantes of Aguno Rizal consist of the family with father, mother, and child giant. The highlight of the festival is a grand procession featuring the Gigantes surrounded the crowd of water-drenched revelers. As the year have passed, the Gigantes Festival Tagalog is continuously evolving with amazing works of arts as seen with the cool sets of Gigantes each year, and the colorful Gigantes Festival costume, the games, and more. Sumbintik Festival, an annual cultural held on December 1 in Cainta, Rizal, along the town's founding anniversary and Fest of Our Lady of Light, the patron saint of town. This festival was celebrated since 2014. They embraced their sweet origins with their cottage industry, the kakanin or sticker rice making, and the main source of income since 15th century. The terms of Sumbintik stands for suman, bibingka, and latik, which are sweet delicacies made from glutinous rice and coconut, for which the town is famous for this and with the highest revenues, also called as the Day of Kainta, or Araw ng Kainta. The houses are decorated with the different delicacies, and the street is highlighted with the performers using the different props of Sumbintik. Sharif Kabunsuan Festival is a very significant event in Cotabato City, and people look forward to various activities line up for the week-long festivity. This festival is the Pagana Maguindanao, a traditional way of dining among Maranaos and Maguindanaos in honor of special guests. This is a solemn gathering for the guests. The visitors are served with traditional Muslim cuisine like tinagtag, pil, pudrid mandi, sinanag baka, among others, followed by a cultural presentation. Traditionally, the guests sit barefooted on the floor during dinner. The lavish meal begins with a Thanksgiving prayer. At the end of the meal, the host will give a token to the honored guest. And the highlight of this festival is the Ginagit, which is the colorful fluvial parade of colorful decorated bangkas along the Rio Grandes, Mindanao. Ligligan Parol or Giant Lantern Festival. Giant Lantern Festival, also known as Ligligan Parol in the city of San Fernando, is an annual event that takes place during the month of December, which is the Christmas season in the Philippines. The parol of Star Lantern is perhaps the paramount Filipino Christmas, with symbol of colorful, crafted with love, and a glow with the spirit of the season. The Christmas lantern, or Parol San Fernando, in Kapampangan, can never be distanced from the town which created it, the city of San Fernando. It is what San Fernando is known for, and it's what has made the city famous all over the country and even around the world. The word parol derives from the Spanish farol, meaning lantern or light. Filipinos place much significance on the symbolism of light. The star, regarded as a point of light and sign of hope in the predominantly Christian country in Asia. Giant Lantern Festival is a religious activity which we know today as Alobeñas, a non-day novena before Christmas, which coincided with the Simbang Gabi from December 16 to 24. This tradition gradually evolved as the lanterns become bigger and the design more intricate. Later on, one big lantern was made for each barrio, which was created through a cooperative effort. And the highlights of this festival is the giant lantern dancing lights showdown. Other fiestas and festival. Festival, or commonly known as a fiesta, is a part of the Filipino culture. Each city or province has a local fiesta or festival, our way of giving thanks to the patron saint for the abundant blessing. There are more than 42,000 known major and minor festivals in the Philippines that has different content, reason, and decorate. These lesser-known fiestas and festivals are observed and celebrated, nonetheless with or without media mileage. Neither are they lesser in terms of religious or cultural significance compared to the more famous fiestas and festivals.